What's going on, everyone? I'm just a typical, average American here today to react and learn about 5 things you'll only find in Canada. These are 5 strange Canadian objects, and I have to admit, I am completely intrigued by this topic. It's honestly a bit mysterious, like, objects that are only in Canada? What are these things? Like, I'm actually so curious what these are. I feel like I'm gonna be let in to some kind of Canadian secret. What is this Canadian technology that you're hiding? But apparently, these objects are things that Canadians will understand, but they will absolutely confuse Americans. So, consider me prepared to be confused, which is nothing you've never seen before. So let's get started here. 5 strange Canadian objects.
Okay, so today we are going to look at a couple of strange Canadian objects.
Oh, yes.
These are things that are normal to me as a Canadian, but might be unusual to you if you are from America or from some non-American country, which I am told exists as well. Number 1 is this thing. So one increasingly...
What? Hold on, before he explains it, half the fun is looking at this. It's a potion. It's, the secret to everlasting life and youth. It's, oil? It looks like an oil thing? I feel like I've seen this bottle before in kitchens, and I'm revealing my kitchen ignorance here somehow. It's a fancy bottle with a clear liquid. That's my guess.
So one increasingly infamous thing about Canadians is that we apparently like to eat a lot of weird flavors of things and put a lot of weird sauces on our foods.
Wait, what is this? I know about the weird chips. Ketchup chips and whatnot. I'm still coming to terms with that. Plum sauce. Plum sauce? I never knew plum sauce was a Canadian thing. Is that a Canadian thing? Plum sauce? Is that popular? Is it made out of plums? Anyway, I don't think plum sauce is one of the strange Canadian objects, but it might as well be.
Food, such as vinegar. This is a Canadian vinegar bottle, which you often get at the table at a Canadian sit-down restaurant.
Vinegar. Vinegar. Yeah, this is not like vinegar. This definitely isn't something I see when I sit down at a table in America. But I feel like I've seen this bottle before, like in movies or something. Do Canadians like to put vinegar on a lot of stuff? Yeah, for sure. Like, you don't encounter this in America, like a bottle of vinegar sitting at a restaurant. What do you put vinegar on? Vinegar is like, gosh, that's a strong taste, right? It's like sour or acidic. It's a very powerful taste. It's for Canadians, my God. Like, you're just splashing vinegar on everything. I didn't know about this. It's changed the way I think about you forever. You like vinegar, what? Like,
alongside the standard salt and pepper and ketchup and House of Parliament sauce.
I feel maybe I've seen this at like a super fancy restaurant, a bottle like this, and I did not know what was inside.
A lot of Canadians, particularly older Canadians, really like slathering vinegar all over everything, particularly French fries.
Really?
My father, for instance.
Really? Really? That's so fascinating. Sir, there's in America, there's salt and vinegar chips. That's the only thing I can even think of that people willingly ingest that has vinegar. Some people like salt and vinegar chips. I've tried them. Vinegar is a pungent, unique flavor. That's why I'm a bit surprised if this is actually very common in Canada with maybe, he said older Canadians slathering this on your fries. What's wrong with you? Like, I don't know, to each their own, I guess.
Loves to cover everything he eats in vinegar, but I think it's pretty gross.
Yeah.
I didn't have any vinegar, so I had to fill this with 7-Up. All right, so for number 2, let us check this out. Okay. No, it is not Canadian money, it is Canadian Tire money. Canadian Tire is this very horrible chain of hardware stores in Canada. And
I am so glad I did a reaction to Canadian Tire a while back. They don't really sell tires. That's what I remember. They sell a lot of stuff. They sell everything. I think they actually do have tires, but it's definitely not just an automotive store. That was a whole experience. Canadian Tire, I felt like I was getting lied to. by the name. It's not Canadian Tire. It's Canadian Tire and stuff. Interesting random stuff at that. But Canadian Tire money. Is there, gosh, I mean, a lot of stores do like gift cards and stuff, but not dedicated money. Is Canadian Tire such an institution that there's Canadian Tire money?
I'm not exaggerating. They literally did this big special on Canadian TV a few years ago asking Canadians which store they hated shopping at the most,
What?
and the second most hated store was
Canadian Tire.
Really? I didn't pick that up at all when I was learning about Canadian Tire. Canadians hate it? What's so bad? You know what? It's because of the name. No, I don't know for sure, but I think it's because of the name. Because the name is misleading you. You're going in thinking you're going to get like some new brake pads or some windshield wipers. Or at least that's what I'd be doing. And it's like, no. At Canadian Tire, we sell like bread or sponges or something, you know? Anyway, I didn't know Canadian Tire was second most hated. What's the most hated Canadian store?
This is because Canadian Tire stores are always a horrible mess and smell weird, and there is never anyone around to help you with anything. If you are from Canada, please post in the comments agreeing with me because you know it's true. But anyway, in order to make shopping at Canadian Tire stores slightly less horrible, in the 1960s they invented this thing called Canadian Tire money. Every time you bought something at Canadian Tire, the cashier would give you back a tiny fraction of the money you spent in the form of Canadian Tire money.
What? Like, can you just turn down the Canadian Tire money? No offense to Canadian Tire, but apparently I'm not offending anyone because Canadians don't love Canadian Tire anyway, at least if it's very smelly. But I'd almost be like, keep the Canadian Tire money. Give me money. Give me real money, please. And unless you get it on top of the money, you also get Canadian Tire money.
I think it's like 1% or something. I bought this spinner at Canadian Tire recently for about $10, and in return, I got 10 cents of Canadian Tire money. The idea is that by...
That's 10 cents? They give you a whole bill for 10 cents. I gotta say, the funniest thing about this is, if you showed up, like, to an American with that bill and told them this is like a $10 Canadian $10 bill, I would totally believe you. Americans would, like, this is convincing. This is almost too convincing, this money he's holding. Like, to be Canadian Tire dollars, and only 10 cents. 10 cents? That's just annoying at that point. Wait a minute. 10 cents? I didn't know I was going to get so passionate about the Canadian Tire money, but at that point, don't even give me 10 cents that I have to, now I got to keep track of it, put it in my wallet, or it just gets somewhere in the car, and it's a nightmare. This is a nightmare.
By giving you Canadian Tire money, which you can spend at the store, they are forcing you to go back to Canadian Tire, which is ordinarily something people would not want to do. But the joke is on them, because in reality, in my experience, all Canadians actually do is just stuff their Canadian Tire money in some drawer somewhere.
Yes,
they make it out of this...
That's literally what I would do.
High-quality money-style paper, so you feel guilty about throwing it out, but I mean, really, who cares?
Again... Yeah, they did too good a job with this Canadian Tire money. It looks too real. Oh, no!
It's fine. It's not actual money. Okay. Now, speaking of heartless Canadian chain stores, number 3 is this cozy number. Now, way back in the day, a lot of...
Wait, what is this?
Heartless Canadian chain stores. Number 3 is this cozy number.
This is a blanket? It is or a towel? Or is it very cozy? Do Canadians know this towel, blanket?
Now, way back in the day, a lot of Canadian land was owned by something called the Hudson's Bay Company, or HBC. The HBC was a British fur trading corporation that the British allowed to own their own land and run their own government in the northern half of North America. In the 1860s, the HBC sold all of their land to the Canadian government, and this is one of the reasons why Canada is such a gigantic country today. But anyway, in addition to trading fur and owning land, the HBC also sold a lot of provisions to the early Canadian pioneers, and the HBC is still actually around to this day, even though now it's just a crummy department store.
So they sold this towel? I think I'm following.
But they're still selling blankets like these, which are called HBC blankets, which...
It's a blanket. It's a blanket. I went for towel. It's a HBC blanket. Is this like an iconic design or something? Or is it famous for being super, like, comfortable? Or is it just known for this sort of historical aspect to it?
which are the same kind of blanket that they sold in the pioneer days. I would say it is still
cool.
a pretty common sort of blanket for Canadians to own. You can see it has these 4 different colored stripes on it. I guess it's kind of ugly, but it's historic.
It's because, okay, there you go. It's because it's historic. It's cool. It's cool that it's got something to do with early Canadian history, and that they actually traded and sold these blankets. Definitely not towels, blankets. It's interesting.
I actually have a couple of different ones. In addition to the classic style, I also have this summertime fun edition and this HBC style beach towel. You can even get an HBC style travel mug or oven mitt.
Is this design famous in Canada? I've never seen this before. It's like, it's colorful. It's almost like kind of modern looking. Like, I know this was made like a long time ago, but it's come full circle, and this almost looks like something you'd see in Target or some fancy department store in the United States. Like, this is kind of a nice design, I'm not gonna lie.
You know, just like the pioneers had. Number 4 is this bottle. This is what they...
This bottle. Okay, just for fun. That is a pickle juice bottle. I have no idea. It's a bottle. Is this a Canadian bottle? I've never seen such a bottle. It's very stout. It's not short. Stout.
They used to call a stubby. Before the 1980s, you could only buy Canadian beer in a bottle like this.
Really?
At one time, a lot of people would have probably listed these things as one of the biggest differences between America and Canada.
Really? That's fantastic. Okay, this is super cool. I've never seen this before. This is an old Canadian beer bottle. I mean, hey, as far as I'm concerned, since the spout part is like a lot smaller, that's less distance the liquid has to travel to get to your mouth. You can drink the beer faster. Patent this design, Canada. This is brilliant. But it's also another very sort of historical item as well. This is cool.
At one time, a lot of people would have probably listed these things as one of the biggest differences between America and Canada.
I've never seen this before.
In the 1980s, all of the Canadian beer companies gave up on the stubby and started selling Canadian beer in American-style bottles like this.
I didn't even know that was American style. I just thought that was the beer bottle style. I kind of like, maybe I'm just being contrarian, but I like the Canadian beer bottle design because it is different and it has a funny name, Stubby, and it's easier to drink out of. I kind of like it. It could be like a cool marketing tactic. But anyway, now it's all just regular old bottles everywhere, mind-numbing beer bottles, but this is pretty cool.
They apparently did this for a bunch of reasons, including to make beer more attractive to women. You can make of that what you will. Nowadays, the stubby is an easy way to tell how old a Canadian movie or TV show is. For instance, we can easily tell that this beloved unfunny Bob and Doug McKenzie sketch was filmed in the 1970s because of the beers.
Yeah, okay. How long ago did they make this switch? I might have missed that. Like, if the old Canadian beer bottle was around in the 1970s, it's only been 50 years or less that Canadians have had the new beer bottle. So there's a lot of Canadians around, like right now, who grew up like with the old classic Canadian beer bottle. How do you feel about this switch? I kind of like the old bottle. It's very iconic. I don't know, maybe it's my age, but I've never even seen this beer bottle design before, but it's actually kind of cool.
And lastly, we have this football. Now, this is one of those things...
What? Oh, no. No. You can't tell me this is a Canadian object. This is an American football. From America. Okay, so apparently not. Apparently I'm about to get super corrected on this. That looks like a American football. I know Canadians play football, or have a football league, I believe. And are you leading me to believe Canadians designed this iconic football?
This is one of those things that you have probably never noticed before, but once I tell you, you will notice it everywhere. This is a Canadian football. And do you know how we can tell that it's a Canadian football? Because of the white stripes that it has on either end. See, in the American Professional Football League, the NFL, they use balls without stripes.
So it's different. I was convinced that was just an American football. There is a little difference. Canadian one has stripes. Is that the only difference? Is there a reason for that, or? Yeah, I mean,
but
he's
in
right.
the Canadian Football League, or CFL, see, look, you can see it says CFL right here.
I swear, I think it's called the Mandela effect, when you think things have always looked a certain way. I swear football's always had these white stripes on them. I didn't even notice that was different. But sure enough, when he's showing proof, like the Americans are playing with footballs with nothing. This says Canadian Football League on it. It's got stripes. I never noticed this. There's no chance I would have ever noticed this either.
They use balls with stripes.
Okay.
It gets a bit confusing, though, because in American college football, they have balls that have white stripes that only go halfway. What did the
jeez. Okay. Yeah, I'm not... This is too much.
Stripes mean? Well, I have heard that in the early days, they put the stripes on there so that the ball would be easier to see for audiences. But that also might just be an urban legend. It sure sounds like one. Nowadays, the stripes have just become a symbolic way to separate Canadian football from American football.
Oh, is that the only reason? It's literally just to be like, all right, these are the Canadian footballs and these are the American footballs. We can't just, bond over having the same football. Man, that's why if we're going to have different footballs, we got to have different beer bottles. That's the trade-off. I want Canada to have cool beer bottles again, short, stouty ones.
Canadian football is actually a slightly different game from American football, but I will not bore you with the explanations of how it is different because I don't know.
I wouldn't have thought it would be different, but I guess there's slightly different rules or scoring. I have no idea. Oh, God.
Dry throat. I would like to close this video by asking you for help with something. I would like you to...
Okay, unfortunately, I cannot help JJ with whatever he asked 6 years ago, but I did really, really enjoy his video. This was by JJ McCullough, and I gotta give it a like. That was very good, and super, super cool that this was 5 Canadian objects I've never seen before, never heard about before. And they were like historical. The vinegar container was just like surprising and weird. Like, I love it. This was super fun to learn about, and just goes to show you there's all these amazing cultural differences between Canada and America still that I don't know about, and that is just the funnest thing for me. So what did we have? We had the vinegar bottle, Canadian Tire money. Someone's at home just sitting on a mountain of Canadian dollar money, and they're going to trade it to an American who thinks it's real and get rich. And there's the HBC blanket with the cool design. That was cool. The beer bottle, which I like, and the Canadian football, which was just plain shocking, and I didn't even believe it at first. But really interesting difference. So I enjoyed this video immensely. Anyway, if you enjoyed this as well, feel free to give this video a like or leave a comment. Perhaps with what you think about these Canadian objects. Are they super Canadian objects? Like, should Canada go back to the old beer bottle? Any thoughts on this? That'd be fun to hear about. And if you're interested in more videos like this, me reacting to Canada and Canadian culture, feel free to subscribe for more. And until then, thanks for watching, and see you next time.